feel called to help fix struggling marriages, even though you are still struggling in your own marriage? Because I felt the same way. But it turns out helping other women fix their marriages is part of what made my marriage shiny and amazing again. And so many of the top relationship coaches around here, they say the same thing was true for them. In my free masterclass, Purpose, Prosperity, and Intimacy, How to Have All Three and Help Other Women Have the Same, I share the number one most important qualification for becoming a successful relationship coach. And I also share the number one indispensable first step for fixing your marriage and how to share it with another woman. And then I share why it is that our coaches, our relationship coaches, have an unfair advantage over other relationship coaches and counselors. And then I go step by step through our proven coaching curriculum and share why it's so effective for fixing marriages and empowering coaches. So if you've been dreaming about becoming a relationship coach, come to my free masterclass, Purpose, Prosperity, and Intimacy, How to Have All Three and Help Others Do the Same. You can register at lauradoyle.org/purpose. That's lauradoyle.org/purpose.
And so he's very cautious when he drives. And honestly, inside it would drive me crazy. I would think, can you just get past this driver and we can get there faster? And I would say that normally. And then he would look at me and say, don't tell me how to drive. And then pretty soon there'd be this thickness in the air.
Welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast, where it's all about fixing your relationship without your man's conscious effort so that you feel desired, taken care of, and special, even if your relationship feels hopeless. I'm Laura Doyle, and today I'm talking about how do you respect your husband? I'm going to share 3 proven ways. My guest, Kim, was tired of feeling like roommates, but when she started using the intimacy skills, he responded with more smiles, hugs, and kisses. And today they enjoy lots of togetherness and there's more affection. She's going to tell us how she did it so you can do it too. But first, let's talk about how do you respect your husband? I'm going to share 3 proven ways. And maybe the bigger question is, how do you respect your husband when you don't feel respectful of your husband? Like he doesn't deserve it. That was a tough one for me. A lot of ancient religious texts say that wives should respect their husbands. You should do it. So, and women of so many different faiths have said that this is what their religion teaches, but that they didn't know how to do it exactly until they learned the intimacy skills. But I know that I should be respectful, and that has never been that motivating for me. It really just hasn't. I am contrary and rebellious by nature. So when you tell me I should do something, that just doesn't, yeah, sometimes I think I'm going to just do the opposite just because that's what I feel like doing. I don't want to. What if he's messing up? What if he is exercising his right to be wrong? Shouldn't I just let him know about that? What if his pants and his shoes don't even match? Right? I always have the option to be disrespectful. But now I also have another option that I didn't really realize I had until I learned how to be respectful. It's more like, how do I be respectful since being disrespectful now feels dirty and hairy and yucky? Disrespect hurts me. It's not so much about him. It leaves me with an emotional hangover after I've interrupted him or dismissed him or I've run him over like a steamroller. Blah. I just don't like how it feels. But also, I married John because I respected him so much and I thought he was so smart. And that was a great perspective to have. That served me really well. So I can decide to remember why I felt that way, or I can, find fault with what he's doing right now and focus on that, right? Of course, my husband's not perfect, but he's pretty great. And when I remember that, he responds to me the way he did when he wooed me. So he's very tender and romantic and sweet and chivalrous when I do show up respectfully. So I feel much better and I get a much better response from him when I remember to be respectful. And I benefit greatly from choosing respect. But still, I'm still not always in the right space to be respectful. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood. I'm not perfect either. And that's why I rely on these proven cheap phrases that I'm about to show you from the 6 intimacy skills to help me be respectful, even if I don't really feel like it. It's kind of like saying thank you to remember to be grateful, even when I don't feel like that either, right? Write these phrases down if you can, so you can experiment with them and see how they work for you. All right. Because these are powerful. See how it feels in your body to be respectful, even if you're not feeling so respectful at first. The first cheap phrase that I lean on heavily for being respectful is, I hear you. And I do that because I had no idea in the bad old days of my marriage that I could just listen to what my husband was saying without weighing in, without giving him my opinion about what he was saying. So if he was talking about work, I thought I should tell him what I thought he should do. I had to give my opinion. But now I love being able to just say, I hear you. I hear you. That's the phrase I lean on to listen without agreeing or disagreeing, and therefore getting the prize that I really crave, which is to hear what's on my husband's mind, to hear what is going on in his life, to get to know him better. So I always have lots of opinions, and I always can share those if I feel like sharing them, right? Like the opinion I had about fish oil supplements after I read an article about them the other day. I wanted to share that opinion. I always get to do that. But it's actually even more gratifying to just really get to have the connection and closeness that I feel when I just am respecting what my husband is sharing by just bearing witness to it. Feels like a superpower to be able to do that. The second cheap phrase that I lean on heavily for being respectful is, I apologize for being disrespectful when I said X or when I did X. And I know it just sounded so crazy to me when I first heard about this idea of apologizing for being disrespectful, but I really look at the day that I learned to do this as like one of the great all-time days of my life, because I really learned to be accountable. Instead of just saying, sorry, 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 like I used to with my husband, which meant, hey, I'm sorry that you're upset, or I'm sorry we're not getting along right now. I'm sorry we're having a conflict, but not so much sorry that I did anything that was not my best self. So now when I use the word I apologize, it feels like the elevator is going all the way to the basement of accountability and really owning what I said that I regret, that I would take back if I could. That just isn't me showing up the way I want to show up. So as I apologize for being disrespectful, and those words, oh, I tripped on those words too, right? Like sawdust coming out of my mouth. Like being disrespectful, it sounds kind of awkward. But now that I like being respectful so much, it makes total sense to me. And also, those words seem to be pretty magical to my husband too. He really finds it important to be treated with respect, just like it says in all those ancient religious texts. So now that I have learned how to be accountable, I still don't want to have to apologize for being disrespectful. I love that I have that as a go-to when I need to reach for it, but I still don't like having to apologize for being disrespectful. There's always that little hump to get over, that little painful hump of like, oh, I was disrespectful. Now I got to apologize. So it actually helps me be more respectful on the front end. So I don't have the apology on the back end, but it also helps me restore that cleaner, less emotional hangover feeling that I like of being respectful again when I use this apology. So that's a key phrase that I love to lean on. And the third thing that I lean on, it's not going to sound like it has anything to do with respect at all, but it really does. This is about honoring his thinking, which is very respectful. And that phrase is expressing my desires in a way that inspires by saying what I would love and then being able to honor his thinking because those for me are in two different realms. I'm in charge of my desires, he's in charge of his thinking, and they don't collide, they don't butt heads. They're just kind of in two different realms. And sometimes when I express my desires, it really colors what my husband thinks. And sometimes when I hear what my husband thinks, it really colors my desires. And I think of when I wrote my first book, The Surrendered Wife. And I wrote it out and I went to my husband and said, I think there's at least 2,000 women that would be interested in reading this book. And he was like, okay, let's publish it. So we self-published it, which was kind of a big deal back then. It's not as easy. It wasn't as easy as it is to do now. And then I called the LA Times. I told them what we were doing. They did a little story on it. And those copies, we printed 2,500 and they sold out right away. So I was so excited. We were getting calls from lots of media, like all around the world, from that one story in the Los Angeles Times. And I was like, oh, I would love to print more books. Let's print more books. I want more books. And John was like, I don't think so. And I was like, what do you mean? People want the book. We've got to print more and let's do it. And he was like, yeah, I don't think so. I think we're over our heads. And because the book was called The Surrendered Wife and not The Steamroller Wife, I felt obliged to listen to my husband's thinking because that's what I recommended in the book. And I didn't want to be an even bigger hypocrite than I already felt like. So he explained, he's like, I think I think we're over our heads. I think we need some help. And so that colored what I desired. That colored what I desired. So we went together and did the research to find a literary agent who took that book to Simon and Schuster, who helped me rewrite it and make it like 100 times better than in the original self-published version. And they coordinated. I had my own publicist, and of course my editor, the publisher themselves. They coordinated all the media to come out on the day that the book was published, and not when we were out of copies. And because of that, the book debuted on the New York Times bestseller list. Yeah, it became the number one book on Amazon. And it was published in 19 languages in 30 countries. And my husband was right. He was right. We needed help. If without that, I don't know that I'd be talking to you right now. I don't know that I'd have this podcast if I hadn't listened and respected my husband's thinking on that day, all because I put myself out as being a respectful wife and felt like I probably should live up to what I was preaching. I'll always be grateful for that. So I don't always feel like being respectful, even if I think that I should be. But I love knowing that whenever I notice that yucky, dirty feeling of not being respectful bubbling up in me, I can choose the more pleasant, cleaner, hangover-free feeling of being respectful by leaning on these proven cheat phrases that help me get there. I have exciting news for you because right now you can listen to my book, The Empowered Wife, for free with your Audible membership in the United States. So discover the 6 surprising secrets to attract your man's time, his attention, his affection when you listen to the Empowered Wife audiobook on Audible without using credits. You don't need any credits. It's free. The Empowered Wife has over 1,700 5-star reviews, and it also has some 1-star reviews too, because not everybody is ready to hear what they can do to fix their relationship without their man even knowing about it. And I get it. I wasn't ready either until my marriage was completely falling apart and we were on the brink of divorce. And then I learned from women with happy marriages what actually works. And now my marriage is shiny and amazing. And those secrets are in this book. And you can listen to the whole book for free with your Audible membership. The only catch is that this Audible deal is only for a limited time. So to make your marriage last and thrive, go and listen for free with your Audible membership right now. My guest, Kim, was tired of feeling like roommates. But when she started using the intimacy skills, her husband responded with more smiles and hugs and kisses. Today, they enjoy lots of togetherness and there's so much more affection. She's going to tell us how she did it so you can do it too. Kim, welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast. I'm so
Oh,
excited you're here.
I'm so excited to be here too. Thank you for having me. I've had your book since I think it first came out. And it's really funny, Laura, because my husband and I are, Christian, and we always go to church and we read the Bible and so on. And yet we started feeling kind of like roommates. There was so much in our lives going on, and we were always coming to each other with problems and things that we wanted to solve. And I think it's easy after 43 years. I've seen a lot of people getting divorced after 30 years raising their kids, and then suddenly they're like, the kids leave and they don't know each other, or they don't have the skills to maintain a loving, passionate,
Yeah.
amazing relationship that we all want so much. All of us do want that. We're always searching for that.
Yeah. And I think it's so common. People fall into a routine that where the passion has gone missing.
Yeah. So
And
what happened is I was looking through my bookshelves and your book fell out. Literally, your book fell out that I bought like 5 years ago. And I thought, oh, The Empowered Wife. This looks so good. Why didn't I read this 5 years ago? So I went on a trip to babysit my grandkids. And while we were out walking, they were playing at the park. And I thought, I'm going to listen to this on audio. And to be honest, it kind of made me a little bit nauseous at first. I thought, and as I read through some of the comments, I thought, why does it always have to be the women? And I see that people do comment on that. And so but I listened to the whole thing and suddenly I felt empowered. And I thought, this is going to be the greatest self-improvement program I've ever been on because it's really not about them. Our life is about us and how we treat other people. And the only thing we have control over is how we act. And so it was empowering to realize I can do these principles and no matter what his response is, I can still do these and feel good about myself, showing respect, showing gratitude, doing self-care, all the things that you talk about, relinquishing control. How freeing to do that, you know?
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so we were kind of in a lull, and I thought, I really want to bring that back because everyone, when they're first married, feels passionate and loving, and they feel like they've married the greatest person on the planet. Maybe a few don't, but I certainly did, and so I thought, we've allowed problems and life to get in the way of our true love and passion for each other. And of
Mhm.
course, your libido goes down a little bit as you age. I thought I needed some hormone thing, and I don't. I just needed to follow these principles. We are like overly libidoed now. I mean, it's just like so amazing. So,
Wow.
so that's what I started doing. I thought I'm just going to put these into practice no matter what. And if anything, it will improve me. If he
Wow.
doesn't show any kind of response or believe me, it's going to be improving myself
Wow.
and my relationship too, even with God, because he'll want me to do these things. So I started doing them, and I think my husband was a little surprised. And I kept telling him how handsome he was, and I would kiss him really good before I left for work, and I would express gratitude. And I think at first he was a little like, "Wow, what's gotten into her? Is she taking something?" In fact, he asked me, he goes, "Are you on some kind of like, hormone pills or something? Did you? What happened? And I just said, I just think you're so amazing, as I really do. And I so appreciate you going to work, and I love you so much. And I'm crazy over you, basically. I love you and you're so handsome." And he's like, "Wow, thanks." And so I would just, it wasn't overly done. I would just always give him a really passionate kiss when he left and when he got home, greet him at the door, and just tell him how much I appreciated him. And I'm not kidding, Laura. It just changed things so much. He can actually remember the day he's always saying, and it happened to be January 6th. He's like, J6 is the best day of my life, you know? He goes, I don't know what happened. And a lot of it is relinquishing control. I was always telling him, I think you should wear this, or let me fix your hair a little bit, or just, it was so ridiculous, just little things, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, and I love the statement, whatever you think. It's
Mm.
a very empowering statement for wives to say that. And we think it's the opposite, like, oh no, we're giving up control. But when we say whatever you think, you can see a physical change in your husband. They straighten up and they think, wow, she trusts me to do the right thing, and I really want to do the right thing. And I really don't care about the outcome. It's in his hands, you know, and it usually turns out amazing. And so I just love that statement. Another thing that I love is saying ouch. So before, if my husband said something hurtful, boy, you better believe I was going to defend myself. I mean, I got on my high horse and I had all these lists of, oh, okay, really? Then, I got to give it back. And all it did, and in every relationship, all that does is just create a fight. And I often thought about my grandparents because we'd be at dinner and they'd be telling a story. My grandma would start out and she'd say it was a Tuesday night and it was raining and and Charles and my grandpa would say, it wasn't a Tuesday, Viva, it was a Wednesday. And then she'd go back and say, no, it was a Tuesday. So then at the table, they would bicker back and forth and the story was lost and we'd all leave and they were still bickering back and forth if it was a Tuesday or Wednesday. And I really hated that as a child. And so I never wanted to bicker with my husband. And I found myself doing that. And I'm just so grateful that's completely gone. There's no bickering whatsoever. And the key word is ouch. And
Really?
you just walk away. And then they feel bad. They're like, oh, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I just, was saying this and this. I'm like, it's okay. I understand. And and it's just so magical, is all I can say. It really is. It's a magical phrase. Just say ouch and walk away. Just give up your pride. And pretty soon it all comes back, all that love and caring and empathy. And I'm just really grateful for that one simple word. I haven't had to use it very much, to be honest, because he feels so loved.
Oh, so it sounds like there's a nice tenderness at your house.
Yeah, it
But I
really
mean,
is.
even I mean, it can happen from time to, right? My husband,
Mhm.
he doesn't mean to hurt my feelings sometimes,
Right.
but it's
We're
just,
human.
we're just humans. Yeah. And once in a while, maybe I'm sensitive that day or whatever. So,
Yeah.
and so it sounds like, I think what I hear you saying is this feels a lot more dignified than trying to argue about whether it was Tuesday or Wednesday too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so much more. I mean, my poor grandparents, they were so great. And yet, they really had to be right on the little details when they were telling a story, and that's fine. It's just that I didn't want to do that. I really didn't. It wasn't about that. It was, about expressing love and telling a story. And if I got it wrong, then it's okay. Or he gets it
Yeah.
wrong. It's fine.
Yeah.
It was a Wednesday. It's fine. He
Yeah.
thought it was Wednesday,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Okay. Let's say it was Wednesday then. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So how did he respond? I mean, it sounds like he immediately, became remorseful that he hurt your feelings, but was his head exploding? Was he surprised that you were saying
well,
ouch?
I think he was, yeah, he loved that actually. And I use it now all the time. Although really honestly, since I've been applying all these skills, I've probably only used it 3 times because I haven't had to. He doesn't want to say hurtful things. And he's extremely, it's very loving. And it's so funny because here's an example. He's a slower driver. He's 73. And so he's very cautious when he drives. And honestly, inside it would drive me crazy. I would think, can you just get past this driver and we can get there faster? And I would say that normally. And then he would look at me and say, don't tell me how to drive. And then pretty soon there'd be this thickness in the air. And so it's funny because since I've done these skills, I could care less about his driving. I love being with him. So whatever he's talking about, I'm just enjoying that. And whenever we get there is fine. why am I so pressed to make sure we are passing all the slow drivers? It doesn't matter. I'm enjoying time with my husband. And so,
Wow.
whatever that translates to the listener, whatever it is that's bothering you about your husband, when you start to show these skills and do these skills, the little things that bothered you will go away, and that I promise they will. When you think about your friendships, you're not telling your friend, and the reason you're so tight with your girlfriends is because you're not telling them, could you please pick up your socks? Or, you know what, I think if you just did this, you'd be, cuter or whatever. You're not nitpicking your girlfriends. You're just accepting them as they are and laughing about things. And you can't expect a relationship to flourish under any kind of criticism. It's just not going to happen. People don't respond to criticism. They can figure things out for themselves of how they want to improve. All they need is love and respect. And I hate to boil it down to that simple of a thing, but it it kind of is. And I have friends that are on the verge of divorce, and I've told them about your book, and some will embrace it, and some will just say, it's too far gone. I don't have the energy or the effort to do that. I don't want to do it. And you have to want to. And so I would say, why don't you take it one last shot and do it as a self improvement program? Don't look at it as, I'm going to fix my husband.
Mm.
Don't look at it like that. Say, I'm going to fix myself. I'm going to show unconditional love, respect, gratitude. I'm going to receive graciously. I'm going to have self-care because nobody wants an, wife, in just in her PJs and robe with swollen eyes. That's not attractive. And we don't want to feel that way anyway, but we're in charge of our feelings and we are in control of our feelings. And it's the only thing we can really control. And so, why don't we look at it as this great self improvement project, if anything? And if it works out, how amazing that you can save that relationship and your family and your kids and finances and everything that's involved in a divorce. A divorce is the most painful thing people can go through. It's terrible. And sometimes there has to be a divorce if someone's amazingly abusive or won't get help with addictions or whatever it is. But I think most marriages that I have seen are really two really good people that just don't have the skills. They may even have the Bible and be Christian, but they're not sure how to translate love thy neighbor to their husband.
It's so true. It is funny how I love this analogy of telling your friends, like you wouldn't tell your friends, can we just pass this slow car or whatever if they're
Yeah.
driving or like, are you gonna wear that shirt with those socks? Or like you just wouldn't say that to them. And it's funny how to somehow give ourselves a pass with husbands, you know,
Yeah.
and it really does it hurts the emotional safety. And then um
Yeah,
and
the
s-
emotional safety. I'm glad you said that. I mean, people want to feel safe emotionally. And when they've been cut down or criticized, suddenly they just don't feel safe to open up and be their best selves in the relationship. And so I don't know. I'm sure there's listeners that feel criticized by their husbands. But
oh yeah.
husbands are going to feel so much less inclined to do that when you're giving them genuine respect
Mhm.
and compliments, gratitude 3 times a day. How do you criticize? It may take a while, but it's really hard to criticize a very loving wife who sees the best in you and is not fighting back and is genuinely feeling good about herself.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to actually criticize someone like that, I think.
Yeah. Boy, that's true. It almost sounds like when you describe it too, it kind of sounds like you just flipped a switch, like you got inspired and then it just totally you brought all this like unconditional love and respect and good self-care and just kind of made yourself happy too, it sounds like. So
Well, and I just started seeing results. So I started these principles, and after a few days, I started seeing a new man. And I thought, wow, he's so handsome. I mean, I really just think my husband is just the most handsome man on the planet. And I'm sure
Wow.
if I had him on, you'd think he's okay. But
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, in my eyes, I just see his shining spirit. And these principles have brought out the best in both of us. And we are having a blast. And it doesn't mean life is perfect. We're still dealing with a lot of hard things in a lot of areas because that's just life. I think life is hard, but these principles are easy. And so when
Wow.
you follow the principles, it makes everything in life manageable because now you're partners, loving, passionate partners. And so whatever it is that comes up, you can say, hey, let's talk about this. And then we'll bring it up, and then we can still even be hugging and kissing through it and saying, oh, I just love the way you think. I love the way you've expressed that. I really appreciate that. And and he feels so important in my life because he is. He's everything to me.
And now you mentioned that you know other couples that are going through, they might even divorce. I mean, was it ever that low with you guys? Did you ever feel like um you might
I
you might
don't
get
think we
divorced?
ever said like the divorce word, but I noticed that with my friends when they're feeling miserable, one common thing is people will go back and say, I don't think I ever really loved him. That seems to be a common phrase that people say when they're in the middle of just the darkness of marriage and not knowing how to improve it. And they're thinking, well, it really was always this way, and I was too young, or I was too, caught up in the physical part, or whatever it is. And when these principles are applied and used, and the passion and love and respect and gratitude come back, um, you realize that isn't true. You were madly in love, and that's why you got married. You just forgot. It's easy for people to forget how in love they were and how much they wanted to get married, and to let these hurts or these grudges or these issues get in the way of that beautiful relationship.
Wow. So it sounds like you forgot for a while. Like, right, there
Yeah,
was,
we were just too caught up in all the, we're very busy people, both of us. We both have a lot going on with different, um, well, he's a dentist and he's great at what he does, and I help him at the office, and I have my own business, and we have 6 kids and 23 grandkids. And so there's a lot on our plate, and there's a lot of things we could argue about if we chose to. And we don't choose that path anymore. We're together, and it's way more fun. I mean, we're just really enjoying life, and it doesn't mean hard things aren't thrown at us. There's a lot all the time. Life is not easy, and I don't want to even go into all that because that's not what it's about. But everyone has hard things thrown at them in life,
absolutely.
whether it be health or finance or kids, adult kids. All of our kids are adults now, and so we could be consumed in all of that and forget what's really important, and that is our self-care and our personal growth. And what a great self-improvement project. Really, I hope that anyone that's listening that has that, oh, why is it always about me? It is about you. Your life is about you. So make it happen. Do your best and look at it as a self-improvement program, if anything, and just watch and see if things change. If they don't, after a month or two of trying all these principles, then know that you've done your best, and someone else really doesn't want it. But if you start to see your husband perking up and improving, and the passion return, and the love and respect and gratitude, then you're going to be like, okay, I'm so grateful that I'm learning these. And then apply it to all of your relationships. Your kids, your adult kids, show them real respect. Um, don't criticize them. Let them live their lives. Don't give them advice. When they come to you and tell you what they're doing, say, that's great. How do you feel about that? What do you think? I'm so curious about what you're thinking and your path you're taking. you know?
You're just showing up with a big listening ear. So you're using the skills with your children and maybe your grandchildren too, huh?
Well, I'm certainly trying. I mean, I that's my goal is to let them know how much I really love them and how grateful I am for them as children, and that I'm not perfect. I'm definitely not
Oh,
perfect.
sure.
I
Of
think
course.
some kids can, it depends on their personality, but some can hold grudges, and I can't do that personally. I have a hard time holding grudges because I don't feel good when I do that. But some people, it's their safety zone. And so you still even have to let uh, just express love and let them work it out, whatever it is.
Kind of
And
leaving
you
that on
can't,
their
you
paper,
just can't have
right?
control over everything. You can't
Uh,
make everyone like you. You can't make um, the only thing you can do is really do your own self-improvement program in life and feel happy. We have the choice of how we want to feel, you
yeah.
know.
How do you think it's affected your kids, though, that like that you're, because it does sound like your relationship has really transformed. Your marriage has transformed.
Yeah. I mean, none of them live here anymore in California, and I adore all of them. They're such amazing people. I think every child wants to see their parents happy at any stage. It gives them a lot of security, and they feel if they see we have unconditional love for each other, they're going to feel it too, that we have it for them as well. And that's what kids want to feel is loved and respected, even as adults. And if they don't feel that way, it can cause trouble in relationships when we're older. We think, oh, once we get the kids out of the house, everything's going to be fine. But they have, they're going through life too, and they need to know that we love and respect them and that we
Mhm.
have a listening ear and give them space to whatever they need to do. We can't be hovering either or controlling. Just let them live their lives. It's great that they're on their own now and have these experiences,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I
they're
love
and they're awesome. I just love my kids so much and grandkids. And
it.
it's not without, nothing's perfect, but the only thing we can control is what love we show and genuinely show. And
Yeah.
gratitude. Gratitude is so key. I'm so glad that's one of the principles because people love to feel seen, heard, and important.
So do you still do three gratitudes a day for your husband?
Yes, I do. I love it. I'll text him at lunch. In the morning, I say, I love you so much, and other things I won't say here. But it's kind of fun to have our own little private
Sure. Oh
jokes. And
yeah.
he's just
Oh
perking up, going, maybe I'll be late to work today. Um,
yeah. Cute.
and then at lunch, I text him. And then when he comes home, I always greet him at the door and I give him a long kiss. And they like that. They don't want a peck. They want a long
Yeah.
kiss. And probably, people are probably looking at me going, oh my gosh, this 63-year-old woman, that's gross. But sorry,
No,
that's everybody's got their own relationships
no.
and we love being in love.
I think it's inspiring. Who doesn't
Yeah.
want that? Like long, passionate kisses. Like, and after 43 years together, it's
I know. I'm so
no, it's
grateful,
inspiring.
actually. I really am. I've had a lot of friends and um, a couple of sisters that have gotten divorced, but the worst case that I ever heard of was my neighbor, and she had triplets. And her husband worked overtime so that he could pay for all the things that triplets require. And she thought he was gone too much. And she started resenting, and her thoughts started building a resentment that she had all this work to do and he was gone. So one day, without counseling, she left a note on the table and said, I'm done. And she took the three kids and she was gone. And it was absolutely heartbreaking. He came over actually crying and said, I don't know what to do. And so he went on with his life and he got remarried and they had a baby and they were happy. And she's a beautiful woman. But the woman that divorced him 6 months later, she came to my house and she was sobbing. And she said, I had no idea what I was doing. Now he's remarried and they're having a baby, and all the kids want to be there because it's a neat family atmosphere. And I'm alone and I don't
Oof.
like dating anybody. They have weird kids. And I thought it would be more like when I was 20, and it's awful now. And all the men are liars. And she says, I am so miserable, and I can't take back what I've done. And so honestly, if there's people like that, that's what this book is really for, is just for their marriages like that can so be saved. They were still in love. She just didn't know what else to do. She just thought, I'm going to end this because I'm in so much personal pain. I don't know how to express it. And
Sounds
and
like she was pretty
she did it.
overwhelmed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was overwhelmed, and she just did it too soon, you know. So I
Yes,
would want to avoid anything like that for sure.
for
You don't want to
sure.
have a regret and be crying to your neighbor saying, I made the biggest mistake of my life. And now he's remarried and happy and has a cute baby, and I'm alone.
Ouch. Yeah, it's hard. Well, what do you think you would say to yourself if you could go back in time and talk to Kim from before and tell her what you know now? What would your tip for her be?
Oh my goodness. I would just say to keep up that love and to, I, honestly, I just wish I had really known these principles and applied them every day. But I didn't know them,
No
and
one ever taught you,
no one
right?
taught me, and I didn't have a good role model either. I mean, my dad did leave my mother after 11 children, and she was never enough for him. He would actually say that, and she did everything she could. She was willing to she didn't have these principles, but I thought she was a great mom and a great wife. But so that was sad. And I don't think the way they communicated was healthy. I mean, my mom was doing her best, but my dad, I don't know. I don't know what happened. So basically it wasn't a real great role model. My dad always had to be right. And I remember in third grade thinking, I wish I could be like my dad and win every argument. What a ridiculous thing. But that stayed with me for a long time because no matter what, he won every argument with us, with mother, with everyone he dealt with. He was always right, no matter what. And that's fine. If you want to be right in place of an intimate relationship, then that's what you've chosen. But I would say more importantly is how to love. How can I effectively love people rather than trying to be right? I'm not always right. I'm wrong.
Right.
I'm flawed.
Yeah.
I make mistakes, and that's okay. And I hope my kids and my husband know that I'm going to make a lot of mistakes, and it's okay. Why do we make it so serious that we've made a mistake? Can't we just forgive and move on? Everybody makes mistakes. And I look at it like a stain in the carpet. When there's a stain in the carpet, what do? If you spill a green smoothie or a Coke, whatever, on your carpet, you're going to immediately get it up, right?
I do.
Because you
Yeah.
don't want to, it's
Yeah.
going to sit there and get darker and more stained.
Yeah.
So you get it up and you apologize and you express love, and then you move on, hopefully. You can't control others. Some like to hold grudges, and you have to allow them that space too. Um, if oops, if that's where they want to be, then then you can still feel happy and joy because you're doing your best. You're expressing love. You're expressing gratitude. You're taking care of yourself. You're relinquishing control.
Yeah.
That's, oh my gosh, that's so huge. And striving to be vulnerable. You could say things like, instead of ouch, you could say, wow, that really hurt my feelings. And then walk away if you want. Or tell them what's sad in your life, but don't make it so that it's interrupting your relationship, you know, and ask them for help. They love that. Men love to help.
Mm.
They really do. Like my husband now, when I drive up, he runs downstairs, he opens the door, and he can't wait to unload the groceries. He can't wait to go weed the garden. I can't believe how magical this is, honestly. He can't wait to when I come home from a trip, he has dinner ready. Like like he's texting me saying, "Hey, I have something super yummy for you on the table." And I'm just like,
Ah,
"Seriously?" I don't know. He's an amazing guy, and I know
that
there was a time when I thought I was too young. I didn't know what I was doing. Like water and oil, blah blah blah. And if you focus on that, then that's what you're going to get, honey. It's true. If you want to keep believing those statements, you are doing a self-fulfilling prophecy.
wow. So, what is your best tip for somebody who is where you were feeling like roommates, like there's just not a lot of passion, and maybe I was too young, and um, they're wanting what you have now, where he just runs downstairs to get the groceries, and there's lots of passion. What's your best tip?
There's so much passion, I can't believe it. Like I hear a lot of women my age say, "Oh my gosh, the last thing I want to do is have sex," you know? Um, and I would say then you're in the roommate phase and need to get out because I don't want to have sex with a roommate, right? I want to be really loving with my husband. And and I guess my best tip would be start with these principles. Smile when you see your husband. When he walks in the door, give him a big smile and just genuinely express gratitude. Try to think of something you are genuinely grateful for and tell him that 3 times a day. Take care of yourself. Relinquish control. Say whatever you think. When he's driving, just enjoy being with him. Try to think of something you can be grateful for about him when you're driving, if his driving bothers you. Whatever it is that bugs you, if he's a slob, just or whatever it is, say something like, you know what? I just love it. I noticed last week that you had cleaned up your side of the room and it really looks nice. Thanks. I really appreciate that. And suddenly they perk up and they're like, I think I'm going to move those socks or, whatever, because they just, I'm really amazed at how much a man really does want to have a loving and passionate relationship too. It's not just women, men want it too. They want to be loyal. They want to feel loved. And I know there's a lot of affairs out there. I don't know really actually what causes it, but I think there would be less if when that man was driving home, he knew his wife was going to be there with a passionate kiss, words of gratitude, um, things like that. You can't control another person. So if they choose to have an affair, that is their choice. And that would be extremely painful. Um, but the things we can do will mitigate that for sure, I think. And I mean, we didn't have to deal with that in our relationship. My poor mother did. And that was extremely painful for her. But now then she became happily married after that. She remarried and lived a life of, she naturally does these principles.
Mm,
She's a very loving woman. And she learned a lot too by having her husband leave. She was very involved in the 11 kids' lives and he didn't feel like, she cared about him. She did, but you can imagine with 11 kids, it was probably hard to show every minute, and he
her
was pretty
energy
high
was pulled in
maintenance.
a lot of directions.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It,
But
yeah. And it sounds like you really like your husband has really kind of acknowledged that you have made a transformation. He's
yeah,
celebrated that about you. Uh,
yeah, he
uh,
has. He says it almost every day. He just looks at me and he goes, I love you so much, and we just have so much fun. Life is actually really fun right now with him. I can hardly wait to do something with him when he gets home. I can hardly wait to go places with him. In fact, I was going to go early on a trip this weekend and he was going to join me later. And I thought, we'll just go together. I'll just wait and go with him because it's so fun to be with him.
You'd rather be
But
together now.
oh, totally.
And that wasn't how it was feeling before. You would have just gone on.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't have thought about it. I would just go on my trip and maybe text him once or twice. And I'm kind of embarrassed actually to say how um I let it get to roommate stage.
Mm.
I mean, why do we do that? Why do we let it get to roommate stage? It's so unpassionate and not very fun to
You
live
know,
with
I
just
love I love your accountability, Kim, because what I hear you saying is like, I did that. And but I don't think you probably realized that
I
was your
didn't. I just really
that was
didn't
in your
have the
power, right? To fix.
right. I mean, here we were going to church every week too, and listening to these great sermons and studying the Bible and everything. But somehow I just needed a simple list of these are actually real live action steps for today that you can do. And I couldn't somehow translate that with the Bible. I mean, I knew we were to have unconditional love and have charity and all those things. And I thought I had it, but when my husband hurt my feelings, then I needed to defend myself. And when he went off to work and he didn't pick up his socks, I needed to let him know. Or if he was wearing a mismatched outfit, I needed to tell him, why do you wear things that don't match? After a while, it's those tiny things that can start to wear on people. And
Absolutely.
pretty soon you don't feel passionate anymore. And how sad. You
Mm.
really, in any relationship, I think you need to constantly be expressing gratitude.
Mm.
And I've found that way. Okay, this is going to be personal and you can edit it if you want, but I'm going to just have the honest truth here. And I was really praying about what I could do to be a better person and how I could show love for my husband more and how I could kind of transfer uh, just make the relationship what we've always dreamed of, right? And so, I was praying, and that's when I went to my bookshelf, and your book literally fell out. And I kind of consider that a miracle. And I read it, but I couldn't sit and read it, so I had to put it on. I bought it on Audible then and listened to it. And I was doing my exercise and listening, going, "Oh my gosh, I don't know. This sounds sort of nauseating. I mean, why is it up to me? Blah blah blah." And when it clicked that it is up to me because our life is up to us, and that I'm the only one that I have control over, and it's a great self-improvement program, if anything, I thought I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it and we'll see if it works. And literally, it was life-changing overnight. And so I think God was saying, I love you and I want you to be happy. It's important to you. And you've asked me. And so, oops, this book just fell out as you were looking for other books. And
It's quite a
and so
coincidence, isn't
I
it?
think I think there's little miracles when you are really striving to be your best self and you really, really want to do that. I think you'll find little miracles along the way that show, oh, somebody's with me. Somebody cares about me and is helping me to improve. Because none of us are perfect. Honestly, I've thought about this in many other areas. I've thought, I wish everything was this simple and easy. Like, what if we had a list for everything? How to deal with adult children, how to deal with finances, how to deal with, decorating your home, whatever it is. What if it was
Yeah.
just six principles and we
Oh,
follow
yeah.
them and we're done? But so I was amazed that this was so helpful. So helpful.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Well, you are an inspiration. Kim, thank you so much for sharing your story and giving us a little glimpse of what's possible when you've been married for 43 years, how you can have passion and intimacy and gratitude and just want to always be together. Just have it be playful and exciting, because I think that's what we all want. And so congratulations on accomplishing that. In fact, I want to give you my wife's
Oh,
award for accomplishing that. Congratulations. You did.
oh, I love it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I
It's
I want to really just express gratitude to you. I don't think what you do is easy. Whenever a leader steps out and says, these are some principles that really work, uh, you're obviously going to have some people that don't agree. And you have to stand strong with who you are too, to say, these I know to work. And even if it only helps 50% of the people that read the book, what a great thing. I mean, you've saved our marriage. I don't think we would have gotten divorced. But what you say, everything's come back to, we feel like 20-year-olds again.
That's
And how
awesome.
do I really thank you enough for that? Honestly, I mean, I've actually gotten pretty emotional about it because I'm so thankful. And so I would encourage all women to read the book. I'm not trying to advertise for you, but just read the book and decide on your own. Take it to God and say, I'm going to try these principles. Will you help me? And and he will, and you can save your marriage. I think your mission statement of ending world divorce is amazing because as families, the happier families are, the happier our country is. It starts with the family. It starts with the marriage and the family. And when that's in place and happy, the whole world is better. I mean, we're kinder to people. We can solve problems easier. Everything in life is better when your relationship is primo, when it's great. And so I want to thank you because you didn't have to do this. You could have kept it to yourself with you and your husband and just gone on your way and been extremely happy, but you took it to a level where you're helping so many people. And uh, I don't know, I just can't really thank you enough.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That's very encouraging to hear, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy we can be on this journey together.
I know. Isn't it great?
It
I
is.
feel a real
I need the
connection to
inspiration
you.
too.
I feel like I don't even know you, but I feel like you're such a soulmate.
Oh,
I just don't really have words to thank you enough because it's totally life-changing and the most important part of our lives.
wow, wow, awesome. I'm so glad we found each other and that we can have these incredible conversations about the most important area of our lives. I agree. I can't think of anything too much more important than learning to love and be loved. Um,
Right. And think about how you were able to move on and help people. But if you had a critical husband and things weren't working, you can't be your best self and put your best self forward when you've got real issues there with your marriage. You're so drowned in being a victim or whatever it is that you just can't be your best self.
yeah,
So I would
help
encourage
us.
women to just if you don't like the principles, just say, you know what? This is a great self-improvement program. I'm going to do it for me. And then just see what happens as you start to do it genuinely for him. Because you'll begin to really feel that way when you start to do those prophecies, those husband prophecies start to come true.
Yeah.
And you'll see it and you'll just be like, wow, this is magical. I'm so happy.
Yeah, it is magical. It's always exciting. So exciting to see what's possible. And to just write your own happy ending like you have done. So thank you so much for inspiring us all today. This has been great.
Oh, thank you, Laura. Have a wonderful day and thanks for the opportunity.
According to a study at Harvard, and this was horrifying to hear, if you know a couple who's getting divorced, you are 75% more likely to get divorced too. Woo! It matters who you listen to, which is why over 7,000 women like you who think that having a great marriage is important have joined our free Adored Wife group. The Adored Wife group is a launch pad where you can meet our certified coaches and discover the best next steps for making your marriage last and thrive. It's 100% free to join. Just go to lauradoyle.org/group right now. This is a private group and it's not for everybody, but if you are a wife or girlfriend who thinks that having a great marriage is important too, we'd all really like to meet you. So go to lauradoyle.org/group right now to join us free. That's lauradoyle.org/group. Listen and subscribe to the Empowered Wife podcast. On next week's podcast, I'm going to talk about 4 reasons that your desires aren't inspiring. Even though you're trying to express your desires in a way that are inspiring. I'm going to help you fix that. And in the meantime, I hope you're having lots of fun. Today's fun fact is that John says when he's grilling us juicy steaks, it's because the meat speaks to him. But then the carne asada was overcooked. And he's like, well, yeah, I don't speak Spanish.